Hey everyone, my name is Wedge, and if you like Commander and like not spending money, and enjoy watching your friends and family suffer at the hands of your diabolical torture, then you've come to the right place. Today I'm going to share with you a tribal discard Commander deck that I know you're going to enjoy. Best part? You can build the entire thing for $1 on Magic Online. $1. Single ticket, $1. If you want to build it in paper, it's $38. Also stupidly cheap for how awesome it is. I'll be showing you online and paper prices of each card as we go through the deck, and if you want to see the deck list in full or buy it for a single dollar bill on Magic Online, click the first link in the description. Can't wait to show this to you. Everyone meet Nath of the Gilt-Leaf, 3 of anything, 1 black and 1 green for a 4/4 legendary creature elf warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may have target opponent discard a card at random. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. Yeah, this is the deck we're making. It's half tribal elves, half discard insanity, with one fueling the other. Ever want to build a tribal deck that had a little more backbone to it, more than a bunch of just tribal spells? Nath has your back. The elf is always angry and looking to bring the pain. Oh, and one more thing. Nath's second ability says whenever an opponent discards a card, a single card. That means if you make your opponent discard multiple cards, you get that many elves. Oh yeah, we're in business. We'll begin with our discard engine, which is glorious, especially considering everything we look at is a penny online, 1 cent. We have no time to be subtle, so we're running a handful of hand hate. Delirium Skeins hits us too, but in a 4-player commander game after Nath hits the battlefield, that's 9 elves, 3 for each opponent who discarded 3 cards, totally brutal. We're running Mind Stab to suspend a few turns before we drop Nath, that way when it resolves, 3 more tokens. Unnerve is a less intense version of Delirium, hitting 2 cards, but it's only the opponent, so nothing can come back at you, and you get a ton of elves. For consistent discard, Honden of Night's Reach and Necrogen Mist will keep your elf production train rolling just fine. Interestingly, a lot of the best and cheap discard effects are creature triggers. My favorite 1-cent card for this deck is easily Banshee of the Dread Choir. With Myriad tacked on, you're rolling in with a 4/4 that causes each player to discard on combat damage. Totally brutal. Cunning Lethomancer doesn't even need combat damage to make players discard. At the beginning of your upkeep, 3 free 1/1s at the cost of one of your cards, if you even have any at that point. Sounds good to me. After that, we are loaded up on Specters. Abyssal Spectre, Hypnotic Spectre makes them discard at random, brutal. Needle Spectre has an interesting ability, but in this deck it hits for 1 most of the time. Whispering Spectre is a bit out of left field. They're worried about your elves dealing damage, and all of a sudden, boom, infect. Guldraw's Spectre has the normal discard trigger and becomes a 5/5 once one of your opponents is drained on cards. And in case that wasn't enough, we have a Spectre Shroud for any of your elves that want to get in on the fun. And we're running Raider's Wake to shock our opponents and force another discard whenever we attack. It's so beautiful, you know? Obviously, we have a ton of triggers, but we're not done yet. We're pretty dang determined to get that discard engine rolling. Bloodhusk Ritualist is not subtle. Multi-kicker that thing to Kingdom Come and you're drowning in elves. Cabal Interrogator provides a more consistent stream of discard, and you get to see your opponent's cards if you want to invest in that. Even if you don't, only 2 mana gets you a discard, so worth it to us. And we're running the ever-forgotten Scepter of Fugue. You can only use it on your turn, but it's 2 mana for more discard. We like that consistency. We're also running a few cards I like to call our Discard or Else package. Torment of Venom, Torment of Scarabs, Remorseless Punishment, and Painful Quandary. These cards give your opponents a choice, but it isn't a great choice. If they discard, you get your elves. If they don't, they're losing permanence or taking a bunch of life loss. And while you do have an inflated life total in Commander, we're running an elf tribal deck. Your opponents aren't going to want to go that low against you. You'll see why in a bit. But yeah, this is a decision that puts them between a rock and a hard place. Great 4 cards here. The last of our direct discard synergy is Megrim and Quest for the Neil Stone. Now, it may not seem like much, but Megrim is great. Whenever an opponent discards a card, that means Megrim is going to function like Nath, and you're going to throw shocks around like candy. As for the quest, this thing's a little stupid. Obviously, your opponents are going to run out of cards eventually. That's where the quest comes in. It starts lava axing your opponents, punishing them for playing out their cards or discarding too much. I know, how dare they? Anyways, the quest is a great card to keep the pressure on and shore up one of your weaknesses, empty hands. Time to talk elves. We have a ton of discard and discard support in this deck to create a massive elves, but that support isn't only through discard. Ambush Commander turns all of our forests into elves, and you can sack an elf token to giant growth something. Imperious Perfect not only creates elves on a stick, but it also anthems all of them. Hunting Triad creates a bunch of elves for you easy peasy, and Elvish Promenade doubles your elf count for 4 mana. Imagine the amount of elves you're gonna have, it's legendary. These cards along with Nath, you won't have any problem getting a whole mess of elves up in your opponent's business. Now, with all these elves, you need to take advantage. Drove of Elves has hexproof and will be huge as it counts all green permanents you have. Dwynen buffs all your elves, and whenever it attacks, you gain a boatload of life since you'll be attacking with your elf army as well. Heedless One is as swole as your elf army. Risk the Exiled gains you a lot of life, and it doesn't even need the rest of your elves to attack, and it regenerates. How gross is that? Voice of the Woods uses your elf tokens to create 7/7 elementals, no big deal there, totally absurd. Second Harvest for 4 mana add instant speed, doubles your token elf army, which is going to work great with Stoneforge Masterwork, that will go on any creature and make it bigger than Godzilla. Then Shaman of the Pack hits the battlefield, and honestly, half the time it just kills one of your opponents. I've dropped this and hit someone for 33. I've hit in the 20s a ton, teens almost every time. Shaman of the Pack is beyond bonkers, and if you need non-damage based removal, Lissalana Scarblade discards your elves to minus something into the ground. Indestructible, try Destructible, nailed it. As you can see, this mass elf support package is dirty. That's the only way I can describe it, completely and utterly dirty. So you've seen a lot of elf and elf-related synergy, and there's a lot of damage we're going to do on the ground just poking people. But what if we want more? What if we want to tap into the savagery of green, the Jumanji of it all? Well, we have that too. Cultivator of Blades fabricates onto itself and gives everything +3/+3 when it attacks. Gempalm Strider cycles, replaces itself, and gives your elf army +2/+2 in the process. Outrageous. Tajuru Warcaller comes down and hits everything with a +2/+2 buff. No other allies, but who cares? It's an elf. And Tribal Forest Mage unmorphs to give all elves +2/+2. In addition to the damage dealt by the specters and little 1/1 hits here and there, these anthem effects will put you over the top. We're all in on this strategy, might as well go as deep as possible. This is brutality incarnate. So we've looked at a lot of shenanigans so far, but we need some glue to bring this all together. Surprisingly, even for pennies each, we have the cards to support this ridiculousness. Elvish Harbinger ramps, fixes, and tutors for an elf card, awesome. Fyndhorn Elves, Fyndhorn Elder, and Gnarlroot Trap are all ramp or fix. What I think is truly impressive is that in addition to these, we get to run Golgari Cluestone, Golgari Keyrune, and Golgari Signet, all of them. That's fixing and ramp right there, let me tell you. And again, if that weren't enough, we've included Rampant Growth and Viridian Emissary for even more resource consistency. The curve of this deck is a little high, but with this mana ramp and fixing, you aren't going to notice at all. We're also running Elvish Soul Tiller to recur all of our elves from the graveyard, or specters in case something terrible happens. That's good utility. We have Null Mage Shepherd, Viridian Shaman, and Naturalized to deal with artifacts and enchantments, and a Read the Bones to help refuel our hand that I'm sure we're going to have a part in tearing to pieces. Again, just a bunch of solid utility spells that will help bring the strategy together and make it more consistent and competitive. Of course, what a commander deck be without removal. You're going to enjoy this. This is a black deck, so we're doing alright on the removal front, and since we create so many tokens, Fleshbag Marauder and Barter and Blood are key includes because if we're being honest, we don't care about losing a token or two all that much. Then we really get down to business. Ruinous Path, Murderous Cut, Ultimate Price, Putrefy, all basically worthless, all perfect for this dollar deck. They kill most everything we don't like. Now, there might be times where we need some additional removal, and if that's the case, Eye Blight's Ending is a solid tribal spell we can tap into, and of course, Eye Blight Massacre is fantastic for when things are just not going the way we want, or we really don't want our opponents to block. Or we don't have any specters on the battlefield and we want everything to pay for not being as beautiful as our elves. A myriad of reasons to use this is what I'm getting at. God, I love these elves. All that's left, 37 lands, and surprisingly, we get to run some good stuff. It's honestly humorous how many cards are a penny online, it really is. Anyways, we get to run dual lands in the form of Foul Orchard, Golgari Guildgate, and Vivid Marsh. I know the Marsh isn't technically a dual land, but a pair of charge counters should be enough to get us whatever we need while we wait for green mana. if it even comes to that. The deck includes Blighted Fen for more removal, Grim Backwoods because it is perfect with our token engine, and refuels the hand. Mortuary Mire can give back an important creature, and Rogue's Passage can help the Spectres get through for damage and discard triggers, or it can get one of our giant elf synergy cards through. Heedless one with Rogue's Passage, Drove of Elves, so good, real all-star here. Then we have Blighted Woodland and Evolving Wilds for some fixing, Desert of the Glorified and Desert of the Indomitable for some cycling goodness. Add in 12 forests and 14 swamps, and boom, the most beautiful elf discard deck ever. Oh, and one more thing. This is Sadistic Hypnotist. It's too expensive to include in this deck. It's 5 cents online. I know, the nerve, am I right? Anyways, the Hypnotist basically goes infinite with Nath. Sack a token, force an opponent to discard 2 cards. That gives you 2 more tokens. Keep doing that until everyone is out of cards. It's kind of the dream. Just wanted to add that in there in case you had the money to drop a hot nickel on this bad boy. Nath of the Gilt-Leaf is a villainous elf if there ever was one. The power of discard and elf production all in one. Vile, hilarious, and will make you an enemy of everyone you meet, but it will be so much fun along the way. If this is a deck that interests you, give it a shot on Magic Online. It's literally $1. What do you have to lose? We're talking less than a double cheeseburger at McDonald's. $1. Just click the first link in the description to check it out. If you decide to build it online or in paper, you will not be disappointed. I do hope you enjoyed the tech, and as always, we'll see you next time.